This is a JTP Audio podcast.
All right, hello, welcome to another episode of Flight in a Pint, the podcast recorded live inside breweries so we can talk and drink with people who make beer happen. I'm Jason Portizo.
And I'm Walter Wilson, and today we're here in Glassboro, New Jersey at Axe and Arrow. We're talking with Josh and Greg. How you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
They have to check with each other, but it's good that they
don't want to talk over each other.
They agree that they're doing fantastic.
I don't want to step on his line.
It's fair. What do you guys do here? What is your title at Axe and Arrow?
Ooh, the title thing in the beginning was like Greg's a brewer, I'm doing this stuff, but it's weird. It's such a small, brewery. We all kind of do everything.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we don't play hard to titles.
yeah, it really depends on who has the time to do whatever that
Yeah.
job is.
Because as you get into it, it gets deep.
Oh, yeah. We have one job to do, and Walter and I just argue over the one job.
Right. Well, no, that's a good setup, though, because, the one thing I think about is vacation time. How does anyone take a vacation if they're the only ones doing that job?
No, you're 100% right. Mm-hmm. So it just has to be good communication. I'm like, hey, Greg, we're going to Florida.
Yeah.
And then he just picks up that week and vice versa. So
That works. All right, so why don't you guys give us the story of how it all began and how we got here now?
You or me?
You can do it.
All right.
Go for it.
Well, this is Josh, but was home brewing very casually and was at a friend's birthday party, I believe it was, and just started talking to Greg about beer, and he was also brewing, and we went to school together, known each other for years, and a lot of text messages later, we're like, hey, let's start a brewery together. And then we said we should probably brew together too then. So it was probably about 3 years ago then, and started brewing together and just coming up with beers and having parties and having our friends try, family try, and started planning. And it was really just a harebrained idea that just kind of spiraled out of control, and now we're here.
I like the idea of using friends and family as focus groups, especially when it comes to beer recipes and even beer names and stuff like that.
Hey, I'm sure they don't mind either.
Oh, no. Yeah.
It's very easy to give away free beer.
Yeah.
I've had some beer from some home brewers and stuff out of garages, and some of it was even actually good.
Well, that was the hardest part. Really was obviously your friends, your family. Oh, this is great. Everything's great.
Right.
So we ended up having a big party with blind taste tests, and everyone got to write exactly what they think. And I said, don't put your name on it, so you can actually write what you think about that beer.
And did they change the tune a little bit, or
It wasn't all great at that point.
Sure.
So,
Yeah,
which is good.
but it was honest.
Yeah, there was a handful that we knew that we had to actually rework at that point in time. But that was the goal of that was, before we get into this and people are paying money and bitching about our shit.
No, that's one of the biggest things. I tell my friends, they'll kind of come to me like, well, I'm like, look, I almost like the bad criticism. Like, tell me what's wrong with it.
Better than good.
Yeah, because you always hear, especially when you're giving the beer away free, it's great. Oh, this is wonderful. I'm like, no, don't say that all the time. We want to know what's wrong with it so then we can then fix it or maybe make it better.
Yeah, an honest opinion you can work with.
Yeah, 100%.
Just because it's free doesn't mean you can't go up to someone and be like, hey, what's wrong with what did you do here? This is not quite right. And the only way to get better is, as you said, good criticism is great, but the bad criticism is what helps you change if you need to.
Yeah, and the other thing that we kind of figured out, there was some strange styles that we weren't really focusing on that people did like. So kind of like our white IPA, we just kind of made it once or twice, and we made it for that party, and it was just getting great reviews from everybody. So it wasn't a beer that we really thought about much, but after that party, we said, you know what, maybe we should focus on this one.
Yeah, and lots of different styles is having a great selection choice is great. I've read a lot about your sours, and a lot of people like them, but I hear that you guys don't like sours yourself.
It's true.
I'm more of a fan than Josh is.
I don't know. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I am. It's just one of them things, like IPAs and everything else. It's an acquired taste. So I mean, I don't really want to admit it as a brewer, but kind of the lactosey sours are getting me into it because they're a little more mellow and a little more chilled out. So you can kind of
As much as we agree, that does seem to be a controversial opinion now.
yeah.
I'm moving towards more marshmallow flavor than I like the lactose, though.
Yes.
Oh, we've had some good ones
That's
there.
yeah.
More actually, one of our brewers sent me something today, and it said like something about challenging my self-respect, but then I opened up a whole jar of marshmallow fluff to put into the beer. I was like, you know what? There's that balance between brewing what you want and brewing what the people want. So
Yeah. We've all had times where we challenge our own self-respect with a full thing of marshmallow fluff at 3 o'clock in the morning when we're drunk. We've all been there. It's fine. It's okay.
it's okay.
It's okay. If you're listening to the show right now with an entire thing of fluff in front of you, it's okay.
Just don't taint the challenge. Keep the challenge to yourself.
We got some beers in front of us, and I kind of want to just like dive right into them because these look fantastic. So, but before the beer itself, and we're gonna get into this a little bit later too. I love your flight cards.
Thank you.
Now I know these are, we are still in COVID and everything, so there's nothing. These might be some older beers, and no, they're not lining up with everything. But these are based on Magic the Gathering. We're gonna show that on camera a little bit there. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can check that out. And if you're not, maybe you should. So we'll get into the Magic stuff later. But I just want to just comment on how much I love these. What's in our number one slot?
That guy would be.
That was a Brew Dragon,
We were
right?
the Brew Dragon, yeah. So
Yep.
that is a hazy IPA.
Yeah, that's a hazy IPA. Vic Secret, Sultana, which was formerly known as Denali,
Yep.
and Galaxy.
Yep.
The name comes. We brewed it the day that I believe SpaceX launched the Crew Dragon.
Yep.
So we
Oh, cool.
named it the Brew Dragon.
Nice little branding there, having to do with some science. Do you draw inspiration for your beer names from anything other than like science or normal everyday things in your life?
Current events, pop culture, anything that pops into mind. To be honest, we go for the weird, we go for the obscure, the abstract, or something that's just culturally relevant.
You have like the list on your phone of just names you're waiting to use.
We have a friend that does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we need to, we can refer back to him.
A lot of the time, it's just spitballing though. It's like, here's this beer, we're in the zeitgeist. What feels right now?
I always kind of joke. Greg always comes up with great names just saying them. Like he doesn't think about them. If he thinks about them too much, then you get something like the Zeitgeist or something like that. And you're like,
I
what
go
the?
way too deep.
It's a big word. I want to use it.
Yeah.
We'll go to the October Revolution deep. So
This is a very good haze.
This is great. Yeah, I've been enjoying hazies recently, but this is it's got a little bit of that hop burn right in the front, but then it's got like that crisp after that kind of smooths it all out.
And how strong is this one, ABV wise?
I believe that one's like 6.5.
yep.
About right for that type.
Yeah,
excellent.
we don't. A lot of our IPAs tend to be in the 6 to 7, 8 range. So that's enough bite and a little bit of punch for
Yeah.
the IPA.
Yeah, we haven't dabbled in any triples yet.
Yeah,
They can be dangerous.
Can be.
very dangerous.
There's some that are great, and there's some that you're like, maybe you shouldn't have done that. But
And an IPA is under like 5. Just don't seem to be worth anything.
No.
Nobody wants to put that one.
hot take.
Yeah,
Greg, please explain yourself.
To get back into these magic cards, what gave you the idea to start doing this for your beers?
You know what? I don't remember. No, I'm kidding. No, honestly,
Try not to own up being a nerd.
No, honestly, there was a new brewer magazine,
Yep.
and Greg texted me, and he said, "Did you see what was in the background of the new brewer magazine?" And I said, "No, I didn't see it." So I looked in there, and there was a picture of a beer, a nice clear picture of the beer, and right behind it was a flight board with, you could make out there was a little card on it. So it was kind of stolen, I guess, the idea, but I like to call it inspiration.
Yes.
Is a great idea, and
It
that was the thing is
Yeah.
you see most of these things and people are writing numbers that correlate to numbers on a menu board that you can't necessarily see,
No.
Or menu numbering. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because you don't remember as a consumer from time to time.
Yeah.
Like,
And
as
I
a
actually
drinker,
found out where that came from.
You found the brewery?
Yeah, it was in Disney
It's
World,
Florida, right? Yeah.
It was in Florida. Yeah, it was
Orlando.
in Disney World, and it was a brew pub. They had beers from all over. So when they would do their flights, that was what it was. But the magic is because of our past and nerd.
We're fucking nerds.
Yeah, nerdism and dorkism.
I played Magic. I played Magic competitively for years. I traveled
Yeah.
by half the country. I was a judge. I mean, I've got nowhere. I got no leg to stand on here.
And that's why we love you.
Yes. A couple episodes ago,
Welcome.
Walter and I started talking about their WoW characters, and I excused myself for a while. So, Walter, if you want to come back in a few, we're going to talk about our old Magic decks. But I love that. Like, and it's kind of feels it feels kind of cool, just like mixing, because beer is deceptively very nerdy. And like you can really get into some real high level nerd stuff.
Yeah.
If you start getting into like brew processes and stuff like that.
well,
That's something that we've learned talking to these brewers.
Yeah, you just look who brews a beer.
Yeah.
It's like 99% of it is nerds.
Plus, there's an all too easy draft pun in here somewhere. I don't know. There's something to work with there. Go have fun with that one.
So basically, you use these cards. The customer would pick these cards, and this is what they would use to get their flight. With COVID, it's probably been very difficult. You couldn't even do these kinds of things because of the sanitation issues. Are you planning on doing this in the future? New beers coming out with new cards?
Yeah. Obviously, it all depends on what happens, how we open up. But this is a great way to communicate things. So yeah, if we can get back to business as usual with doing flights this way, and it's a good way to communicate what our beer and our beer styles are, and what the as a drinker. What you're getting, because one Kolsch is not the same Kolsch to the next. One Pilsner isn't the same. So involved in those are notes on exactly what our style is. It's like picking up a modern day beer can, right? So the labeling on the beer can is going to tell you a lot about that beer. Gives you the same thing in a flight pour.
In a flight, you don't get that can. Yeah, you don't get that. So this is cool. And it's, we got a little. This one is for Corky Beans, but the concept of this is we got your standard Magic stuff. You got your title, you got your artwork. This is showing you the IBU, the SRM, the ABV. And a little description on it there. This is really cool. And you guys ran Magic events here too.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. We had some drinking drafts, in the days before we were shut down.
Back when it was allowed.
Yeah, all collaborations with local businesses around here. As that's what we look to do as a brewery, as a small community brewery, is also build up the other businesses around us. One of those being the comic book store right across the plaza from us.
Yeah, it's a great place. Like if you like comic books, if you like anything to do with magic or whatever, definitely go to check that place out. It's
probably stop over there. On
beautiful.
We're after this interview. Probably head over check it out. See
Definitely
what's
where
up
the
in
really
stop.
good people too. So
Yeah.
And this is cool because when we were drafting, when we were doing tournaments every week or multiple times a week, we were at our height of competition, like doing multiple sanctioned tournaments a week, and this is before Magic Online was a big thing. So it was all IRL stuff, and it was kind of frowned upon to bring a beer into a room full of 10-year-olds, and a lot of the demographic was early teens, and I would say like 14 to 19 was where most of the demographic was, and then there was a whole like separate demographic that was late 20s, like we were, but it was kind of frowned upon to bring a beer into a Magic competition. And on the like high level sanctioned stuff, like Grand Prix and Pro Tour qualifiers and stuff, as us as judges, we would remove you if you had a beer with you. So giving
And take it and drink it in the back room.
yeah.
well, yeah, I'm not gonna let it go to waste. But it's cool that like those two things that to me are just so familiar took this long. That just it makes so much sense for them to come together, because we drank all the time in our friend's kitchen, playing drafting over there. And this is cool to be able to do it with new players and things like that. So when things do come back to normal, hopefully you'll bring that back, and maybe I'll dust off my tap skills. See how that goes.
Very nice.
All right. So what's the second beer that we have on our flight here today?
I believe that's the Tropic Thunder.
That would be
correct?
the
Yeah,
Tropic
that's
Thunder, yeah.
That's
That
our
looks like it's called Tropic Thunder.
yeah. That's our flagship sour. It's passion fruit, mango, guava,
Get that
kettle
smell.
soured.
That is really good.
Oh my god.
The fruit blend really works well with the sour, because those fruits aren't really that sour to begin with. So you have a little bit of sweetness from that fruit blend, and the sour is great. Not super pucker punch in the face, but it's enough to be like, oh, that's a sour.
It's a definite sour, yeah.
Yeah,
that passion fruit, almost peachy kind of flavor to it.
Yeah.
It tastes a little bit like those sour peach rings that you get at 7-Eleven.
Yep.
That's kind of where I'm going with this. This is great.
and that's kind of the goal of a lot of our fruited sours. There is you don't want to be just brutally face puckering sour like that. That's kind of a challenge for people to. You really have to want that. So you balance it with the sweetness, the fruitiness, and that's a lot of the goal for our sours. They don't challenge people with what they're trying to drink, right?
This has that
Enjoy it.
sweet to sour balance that I like.
Yeah.
Where like it is definitely sour. It's absolutely there. But that sweetness is really, and like I said, it tastes like those candies.
Oh, yeah.
This is a very candy.
A lot of fruit in that one. There's over so we have a 7-barrel system, and there's over 240 pounds of fruit in that.
Wow.
But it's still, for me, for sours, I've had a lot that, you drink it and you're like, it's very fruity, but it's not necessarily sour. So, and I understand it's a very popular style going on, but we prefer our sours to at least have that sour bite still. We don't go crazy. I mean, with the pHs, I don't know if you guys, know anything about the pHs, but we like it around 3.4 or so. I don't know if it's perceivable to go lower than that, but I've definitely have had
You can definitely go lower than that.
sours that go lower.
You
than
don't
that.
know if you
worry.
want to ever.
Just got to worry that it might taste like vinegar at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you just get into straight acid territory. It's,
No, and
okay,
that
can
was
I get heartburn and
Right,
a
right.
drink?
and to
That's like a peach and bleach kind of.
an oaky afterbirth. Shout out Michael Scott.
Nice
on
work.
that one. Now, that was to go back to the naming, the beers. When we brewed that, we didn't have a name. Greg brewed it the first time, and he just wrote Tropic Thunder on our brew sheet. I'm like, all right, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds
enough.
great. Yeah, good enough.
Sometimes
Get at
sometimes
it.
the executive call makes makes the
I was like, that's
The
good
dumb
enough for
idea
me.
at the back of the head. Yeah.
At least you didn't name it. Come up with a name later.
yes.
Not a bad name.
Yeah, no, right?
TBD.
TBD is a popular beer. I see that one all over the place. Coming soon. I see that one a lot.
So you guys got a little bit of a different brew setup than most other breweries. The Brewha brew in a conical system.
I'll let Greg
Well
explain
done.
that.
Yeah.
Brew in a conical. Biak.
All right, so I guess we're talking about this.
Sure, I would love to.
Wait, do you want the super in-depth Greg nerdy talk, or do you just want to know kind of
I
much
want to
ti- how
know
much
as
time do we
much
have
he
here?
wants to, as much
right.
information you want to give us.
how
that's
long
what
is
I
this
wanna know.
podcast?
All right, so
edit it.
you actually started
And
out.
if it's technical and boring, I'll cut it out. So starting now, this is now my problem.
All right, we'll start.
very,
Cut.
very fair. Do you want me to break in between every couple sentences just for good cut points?
Just please breathe for us. Breathe.
We're just going to see the video fade into us drinking the next beer. That's just all it's going to be.
All right, so you did a really good job at introducing it as the Brewha brew in a conical, the BAC system, because the acronym there is very important because it dictates the difference between our system and the traditional system, right? So as you probably know, the traditional brew house system is 2, 3, 4 to 5 vessel systems, right? So you have the mash lauter tun or a mash tun and lauter tun. You have the boil kettle, you have potentially a whirlpool, and you have fermenters and bright tanks on the back end, right? Our system condenses that down into essentially a singular vessel to do all that. So from start to finish, from the time we put water into our quote-unquote mash tun boil kettle, drop the mash colander in. It's a straining system, so it's again all one vessel. The mashing happens in one vessel. The boil happens in that exact same vessel. The fermentation happens in that vessel, and everything up until we have a carbonated, brighted beer happens inside of that singular vessel, and then we just package from there.
Yeah,
So-
you're instead of moving the water from the grains into your boil kettle, you're actually pulling the grains out. Okay. So the mash colander itself, once we put that into our kettle, turns it into the mash tun. So instead of pulling the wort from the grains. We're pulling the grains from the wort, and your drain happens there. So it's still the same process. It's just done in another fashion.
But you're potentially saving water, saving time cleaning, cleaning supplies, things like that.
Exactly. That's the huge advantage there. So you and another huge advantage there too is the big one is you're limiting risk of infections, right? One of the bigger things that is rampant in any brewery is the potential for and the eventuality of an infection, right? Something's going to get miscleaned. So we limit the amount of hoses we have to use. Like, we're not transferring from vessel to vessel when we do this. So as anybody knows, after you clear that boil kettle, you're at the highest risk for potential infections and the biggest risk for tainting your beer and issues that happen. So we're not transferring out of our boil kettle. Everything is boiled and sanitized inside that vessel, and we close it up. Traditional brew systems, you have to pump out and pump into a fermenter, and you have induced risk there. So that happens. Limited amount of water because, as you mentioned, it's fewer things to clean there. So limited number of vessels means that instead of cleaning the mash lauter tun, your boil kettle, and potentially your fermenter, you just have the one vessel to clean up. So, greatly improved efficiencies over a lot of things that could happen at a brew house. So.
It's awesome, though. I mean, you're moving more towards a sustainable kind of brew house when you take away all the extras that aren't necessarily needed, and you're proving that it's not necessarily needed because you're making great beer and you have this system that is basically condensed, simplified into something a lot easier to use.
Yeah, it's just like with anything, trying to get people to change from a very traditional method. I mean, they've been brewing 3 vessels forever, and not saying that anyone should actually change, but introducing something else. There hasn't been really any pushback. A lot of questions though. Like a lot of our brewery friends, can I see how this thing is, see how it works? Ton of questions, but when you explain it to them how the process can be condensed, eventually they're like, oh, okay, like I understand now. Your mash tun is actually mobile. Mm-hmm. You have the mobile mash tun. You can pick
modular.
Your mash tuns picking up, and and we've when we originally decided to go with that system, the best thing that Nate, the guy that made all this, he said, look, don't even buy this yet. Buy one of the smaller ones and learn how to brew on this specific system and all the styles that you need. And the first time we brewed on it, it was like all thumbs. We just like, oh man, like where does this hose go?
Basically tried to lift the mash tun.
Yeah, we're trying to
we're 2 decent sized guys.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle.
We're trying to shoulder press the mash tun out. And we're like, maybe we should get a little chain hoist. And but literally the learning curve was beautiful. Like after our first brew, which was a little rough, the second brew was like by the end of it, I'm like, that's it, really?
Smooth as silk. Yeah.
That's quick. There's nothing to clean up except for the mash tun, which is just grains. You're just spraying it out and dumping it.
And even that's much easier in the process because you can dump instead of having to shovel out traditional and everything. So it's
yeah. I mean, even on the 7-barrel system, in a half an hour, we have the grains out into the trash for the farmer, and then we spray it down, and she's good to go.
Quick turnaround then.
Yeah.
You had mentioned little things and getting people on board and doing that. I noticed that you also use different containers for your beers to go instead of the plastic top things. Noticing, is that recycled material that you guys used?
Well, Greg is a hippie, so he came to me with this,
hippie,
and and it's what is it? It's E6 PR. It's
That's
called.
correct. Yep.
And it's I mean, you should probably explain it. You were the one that looked into it and know more about it than I do. But isn't it made from recycled grains and everything?
Yeah.
Too?
So it's actually from spent grains at the brewery itself. So the brewery out of Florida started this project. Do you remember the name of the?
No.
If I had better
brewery
memory,
that makes Pectex.
If I had a better memory, I could tell you who put it together. But the company is E6.
PR.
E6PR.com if you want to look up their stuff. But it is basically made from compressed spent grains. So they'll take spent grain from their brewery, ship it out to their manufacturing facility to heat press the thing, and it's a pretty solid 4-pack ring. It'll hold together. It's not like the plastic pack techs where you can pop on and off all the time, but it does the job, and you can throw it away. It is 100% biodegradable.
Are they edible?
You could probably eat it, knowing that you could eat cardboard, but I would not
sea
recommend
turtles.
it.
Could you?
Yes, you could.
I mean,
Sure.
Maybe a little bit of salt, a little bit of paprika.
I was getting a little hungry, so I was just,
Yeah.
I mean, teriyaki sauce is good. I'd put teriyaki sauce.
yeah,
on.
well,
all right. So
we'll
what's,
show you.
what's the next beer we got on this flight here?
All right, so
That's
we
the no.
we went. We talked about our buddy Joe. So we went out to the Great American Beer Fest last year. Was it last year or the year before now? I don't know. Whatever the last one that happened.
The last one, the 2019.
And he had a peanut butter. I think it was either a cream ale or an amber ale, and he fell in with peanut. He just fell in love with peanut butter beers.
Yeah, it was
Like just head over heels for peanut butter beers.
Yeah.
And he says, "You guys got to make a peanut butter
D's
sour."
nuts.
Yeah, that's what it was called. D's nuts. So he says, "Hey, why don't you guys make a peanut butter and jelly sour?" And we both almost threw up when he said that. So
my first thought was, yeah, I'm game.
yeah,
But that's
but this is coming from two guys that don't really like
Sure.
sours. And so we came up with the recipe. We did a little batch of it, and we crowlered up. So the 32-ounce crowlers, about I mean, how many? Like 50 crowlers or something.
Yeah.
And in a weekend, they were gone.
wow.
There was some social media buzz around it, and I even remember trying it, and I'm like, you know what, this isn't bad. It literally tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, this version you're having, we don't have that original version.
Okay.
This is the raspberry version.
Okay.
Not grape
So,
jelly raspberry.
Yeah. So this is the Mo raspberry.
Yeah.
So it's a peanut butter and jelly sour with
That
raspberry.
peanut flavor sneaks in there.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not in the front.
And it's so weird how it works really well with the sour.
Yeah.
I did not expect that to go that well.
So
Yeah.
a lot of what we get from commenters on the flavor is how it's weird that you get those stages in the flavor profile. Right? You get the
That
tartness,
salty
up
comes right at the
front,
end.
almost the fruitiness, then a little bit of peanut butter, and then kind of almost a little bit of breadiness, maltiness on the back.
I'll say like
So-
that salty
Yeah.
flavor comes
The-
in right at the end. Like
The
after it's already gone.
the breadiness comes through a little bit more in the original version.
Okay.
Yeah,
the
it's a
the
little bit
raspberry
hard.
runs over it a little bit in this one, but the original version, that was my biggest takeaway when I tried it after we brewed it. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is weird. You can almost like taste the
Get
white
some-
bread
get
in
some-
this.
get some
you know?
It's
toast
like
in there.
Wonder Bread shit.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Yeah.
But
It
it's
really
one of
was.
our most popular beers, and that's just one of them things like you just stumble on, really. Just a weird harebrained idea from a friend. We tried it out, and
Give it our best
Did really
effort.
well.
Give it the A effort and see what
Yeah.
what happens.
It's a great idea. I mean, liquid bread sandwiches. I mean, having a sandwich, a beer sounds great. It kind of makes me think of other sandwiches that could be made good, like maybe like a grilled cheese IPA or something like that.
geez.
Or,
no.
no,
I gotta disagree
You're not
that
down
one.
with the
maybe
queso.
maybe an Italian sub
Yeah.
stout. you
Actually,
know.
that came up in a production meeting.
Oh, yeah.
We're like,
Yeah,
how can we
yes.
get like the onions? Or I'm like, oh, you know what? The strata hop kind of gives off oniony flavor.
Only thing I think of was like maybe something like a Cubano, because you can get that pickle brine in there,
Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
and
I
then
love
have that be a
Cubanos
thing.
too.
I love Cubanos.
I used to go to Key West with my dad a lot back in when I was like 20 and stuff. He just used to love to go there, and there was a old laundromat that made the best Cuban sandwiches you've ever had. So we would go get a Cuban, go fishing, and it was the greatest day.
You can get that pickle briny on there, or I could also see something sweeter like a oh god, what's that French one that uses French toast as the
Monte Cristo.
Monte Cristo.
Oh.
Yeah. I believe you. I haven't seen a sour, but I would bet money that there's probably some
Someone's had
stouts
that
out there.
Yeah, that would be a stout
It's-
one with the
it's-
cinnamony and the vanilla.
It's
and
French
the-
toast. It's already halfway there.
Yeah.
There's how many French toast stouts out there?
It's like a deep fried French toast, which is just
Great.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
fantastic.
come on.
I'm on a mission. This like it's past couple days. I got the idea in my head, and I'm on a mission to find a good, or it's just literally any. I'll take any. I don't have to be a particularly good one, but I need to have a croque monsieur or a croque madame sometime soon.
Oh.
I watched one Alton Brown video, and
Yeah.
I have not stopped thinking about it for days. But I don't think we're going to see a croque madame.
That's
beer
kind of
anytime
funny.
soon.
It's kind of funny that you bring that up. I never even knew what they were, And then I went on a vacation with my grandmom. She used to just travel all the time. And she's like, by any chance, you want to go to Paris with me? I was like, oh, yeah. And when I was over there, that was one of the only things that I could like read and kind of understand what it was. So that was like my diet. Yeah, that was like my diet for a week.
Nice.
I kind of like these things.
It's like croque monsieur. It means Mr. Crunchy.
Yeah.
That's for our sandwich podcast. That's a different show.
Yeah.
Ooh, can I be on that one? I want to be on that one.
I think I can talk at length about sandwiches
Oh, there's so many.
and
So many beautiful
and have
ones.
engaging conversation about them.
Submarine, you got the Earl of Sandwich in there. You got
There's so many little variations you can do. Yeah.
We'll have to have one episode about hoagies, grinders, submarines.
One.
What's the difference?
Listen, I have very strong opinions on the differences between submarines and non-submarines.
Oh wow! I was about to say it's a hoagie, but I'm
you
not
go.
going to step on the toes.
Is it just
Yeah,
because?
I don't wanna go
Is
that
it
deep.
because of the
as
toasted
far
bread?
south, you probably guys call you all call
It's
them
all-
hoagies.
it's all hoagies,
And
yeah.
you can thank Wawa for that one and put the word hoagie out there into South Jersey.
Yeah.
That's more of a Philly thing. But if it doesn't have the olive on a toothpick, it's not a submarine.
Who the hell wants an
Oh,
olive?
okay.
That submarine started because they were long and torpedo shaped, and they had the.
Did you get that with a Manhattan too?
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, let's put
Double-
this gross thing on
double-purpose
the top
olives.
that no one's going to eat.
no one eats it, but it's the periscope. It's the
I-
periscope
no,
on a
I get
submarine.
it.
Like, so if there's no olive on a toothpick, it is not a submarine sandwich.
I was always
And-
under the
Parasol in that.
I always thought that the difference was if one was toasted or not. Is that the difference between a grinder
That
and a
might
submarine?
make it a grinder because you're grinding this toasted
Yeah.
bread now.
Grinder is a very specific kind
Yeah.
of hoagie.
I think
And
it's
I
an
forget,
app as well.
I forget what's supposed to be on it.
But if you've ever, I'm
Depending
not
on
sure,
what
if
you're
you've ever
into.
had like a Sarcone seeded roll from Philly, you need to sharpen your teeth prior to eating this thing. So I
Oh,
can
dude,
see
yeah,
it.
it's-
And that's not toasted at all. You got to earn the deliciousness with that one.
Bloody gums and everything.
We'll do our sandwich special episode sometime soon. But I swear to God, I can talk about sandwiches like all day. It's,
Obviously, weekend too.
it's the only thing I can cook, and it's the closest I can ever that will ever be to becoming a chef. And I have very strong opinions on.
Fair enough. You earned it.
So we were checking things out while you were getting the flights ready and everything. We see what looks like what might be a mug club on the wall.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a,
semi-coma.
a little bit of a I don't know what you want to call it, but we literally started that a month or two before COVID hit.
Okay.
And
Like 2 months. Yeah.
yeah, and it just
we released for people to buy in on February of last year.
yeah.
And then 2 months later.
So
Boom.
So COVID aside, tell me about what the mug club was.
Or what it should be.
Yes.
So it's for the regulars that come in here. They obviously want to join the club. It's a 20-ounce pour. So you come in, you order a normal pint. Instead, you get the 20-ounce pour. And we were planning on giving them first dibs on special canning, a party. There's a few ideas that we had for everything, but we weren't able to do anything. So the good thing was we told anyone that bought it last year that they're good for next year too, so they don't have to buy it. So we've actually done a lot of planning now. We're actually going to have our first mug club event in I think the end of the month. So we're going to have a pizza party for the people that actually joined our mug club and tell them the good news that we're going to give them next year too, free.
Awesome.
That's cool.
And we did ask them all to bring someone too, so hopefully.
Get another
Extend
member on
it.
that club.
Yeah.
Some more mugs out there.
Yeah, I mean we want to
Drum up interest.
yeah.
Something to get people talking about things. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean-
even if it's a significant other, people will talk.
Yeah.
So word of mouth is the best marketing for any of us this size. So yeah.
Well, having the brewery, most people think of it as the production place, but obviously there's the tap room end of it. So there's plenty of things you can try to do to get the tap room moving, and that's just one thing that you can do.
Is there a limited sign-up window for the mug club?
I mean, we only did it the 1 year. We gave them like a month to sign up, and then everything got closed. So
Yeah,
we really don't have many details on it because when we got into it, we weren't able to fully actually do what we wanted. So the next podcast, hopefully we have more answers for you.
Yeah, we're probably gonna like loosely reopen it, but even with the projected future here, it's really tough to tell. Like
Right.
you don't want to have
Right.
someone commit to that initial payment. Be like, all right, we think it's going to last 2 more months, and then we can get back into normal operation.
Yeah, we were
it's
doing
really
like
about. Go ahead.
sorry, we were doing like $1 off, crowler buys, stuff like that. I'm just trying to remember exactly what we did because it's hard to remember because we weren't able to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you had a discount on the takeout. You had the discount, obviously the larger volume.
Probably
on the
Sean.
full
We should
pours.
probably call up Sean. He knows most. we have one mug club member. They
Number
call
9.
He would never order online.
I'm number 9.
I'm number 9. He would always say. We should make a beer called that. He would never order online because none of our mug club perks we couldn't give them out online. So he would just call us and he'd say, "Hey, I'm number 9. Can I get
That's how
a
you do it.
crowler? Can I do this? Can I do that?" It just remind you I'm part of the mug club, and I'm like, we know. So actually, if we could get Sean on the phone, he probably knows by memory all of.
You get him on the phone. I'll
The
plug
perks.
I'll plug him into this. We'll put a little graphic on the screen. Voice of Sean.
Yeah, he knows the mug club script 100%.
So things got a little funny. Didn't work out how it was supposed to. But the important thing is that you guys have this very local community based type of thing that we're trying to do, and there was at least some success with it because I'm counting. Was that about almost 20 mugs on the wall there? So people were people were listening.
Even in a slow time.
Yeah, and we only had about a month or so. No, it's that's the big difference between, you're always explaining to people that don't really know the brewery world, the craft beer scene too much, like the difference between the restaurant, bar, and brewery. A lot of people think it's the same thing, but the breweries are very community based.
They have to be.
The
Absolutely have to
events
be.
that we do, we do a lot of charity work. We try to partner up with other businesses. So it's just an extension of trying to be community based, really.
It's definitely important, especially in a time of a pandemic. We're all supposed to come together, even when we're supposed to stay apart. We still should come together and work together to build each other up again.
Even if we're at 2 separate tables about 10 feet apart from each other, like we are on this show right now. It's hard
No,
to tell
I
from this
do-
camera
it's
angle.
It's called social responsibility.
Yeah, responsible.
Right.
Yeah, obviously, Greg and I, we've been around each other a lot, so. But
Can't avoid. It's essentially
Yeah, I mean,
family.
there's acceptable bubbles. Obviously, Walter and I work a lot together, so that's
fair.
just something that we're going to have to deal with.
But the crazy thing is really talking about community is when everything got shut down, the craft beer community did really step up. I mean, I was 100% impressed by the amount of takeout orders that we got when we couldn't have a tap room, outdoor patio at all. The online orders were just flying in, come in buying crowlers, buying 6-packs, buying 4-packs. So big shout out just to the craft beer community. Like we embrace them, but they also embrace back too. So
Sure. Yeah, a lot of loyalty from the regulars that I've seen from every place we've been.
yeah, it's great. It's not even really regulars here. It's just regulars in the scene. Because there's a lot of breweries close. So it's to say you have a regular. It's more like regular Core 3, Bonesaw,
true.
30,
fair.
all the close ones.
That was
Which
one
is
of the
100%.
huge things we saw early on with that was people even saying that, like they were hitting up breweries around the block. They weren't just buying from us. They were buying from 13th Shot. They're buying from Kelly Green. They were buying, Human Village stuff. They were making the rounds to support everybody. So, it speaks to the community aspect of it.
Breweries seem to be in clusters.
Yeah.
From what we've seen anyway, from doing the show and just from visiting breweries to begin with. But yeah, like people usually have like what they would consider probably their home base. But then there's always like places around it that okay, we'll go to this tap room and we'll hang out there for a while. We'll grab some stuff, and on the way home we'll grab something from this place and this place and this place and this place, and we'll bring it all home.
It's like bar hopping,
Yeah.
just a little bit different now.
Yeah.
There's more than a couple communities we can think of where like there's brewery clusters where there's like bus tours and stuff like that, where it is a very community thing.
Yeah.
And,
And to give another shout out to that one, bringing up the bus tour thing is
there's one here.
yeah. City Brew Tours comes by here all the
Awesome.
time. Lisa Lopez puts that together. She does a great job. She brings in people all the time for us.
Yeah, true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
There's Beer
Beer
Belly
Belly.
toy tours too. Joe does a really, really good job. But yeah, I mean, it's just that was one of the biggest surprises that I had getting into this business. It's just the community in general, like how friendly all the other breweries are, and just how everyone accepts you, and just you just kind of become this big family. And it was very surprising when I got into it, because I was never being in the construction world. It's all very cutthroat, and who has the cheapest price.
Yes.
You know, oh, can you do this drywall for this price? This guy said this, but then you get into the brewing business, and if you're come up a little short on hop, I can call 5 or 6 people that are in the same business as me, and they say, yeah, sure, here you go.
Yep.
That's
So
great.
it's just awesome.
I love that. All right, what's this last beer that we have on the flight here?
It's the campfire dark ale. It's actually a wee heavy.
Yeah, the base was a wee heavy, and we ended up throwing in cocoa nibs, a little bit of, to hit the
marshmallow
the fluff
fluff.
extract.
Yeah. So you're supposed to get. Here's what you're supposed to get out of it. You should get a chocolatey, not a marshmallow, but like a marshmallow that you cooked on a campfire. So you should get like a little smoky,
s'mores.
a smoky, burnt almost marshmallow flavor from it.
Oh my God.
Is there some smoked malt in here as well?
Yep, Pete smoked.
100%.
Yeah, that was the base of the wee heavy. The wee heavy was Pete smoked dark beer. As
That
the wee
was-
heavy style is.
That was a beer Greg and I brewed a lot, and every time we brewed it, we're like, that's okay. That's not
Yeah.
bad.
Didn't
And
have
then-
mass appeal, but it was a solid
But
beer.
but once you decided to put that peat in there, and it was just a very slight amount. I still remember trying it in the basement. It was really cold at first. It was probably came out of the kegerator 36 degrees, and I drank it. And I'm like, kind of tastes like the other one, And then as it sat there and it warmed up, it got it probably up into the 40s. That smoke flavor started coming out,
Yeah.
and I said, all right, this is that little bit extra added that layer to it that we really, really
Yeah.
liked.
It's so cool how there's almost like that burnt marshmallow taste
Yeah.
in there.
Wee heavies are one of my favorite styles, and I've had a lot of different varieties of them. Some that have no smoked malt whatsoever, and more on the sweeter side. I really love, as you said, you really do get like a toasted marshmallow flavor from this.
Yeah.
It definitely tastes like a s'more. It is amazing.
Oh,
I'm
thank you so
really,
much, yeah.
Really happy with this wee heavy.
That was great.
We should actually break out a can for you guys, because our buddy John, who did all the cards,
the artwork, yeah.
his artwork on our cans, it's just like when we started this, I said, you know what, obviously me, Greg got together and we both know him. We said, you're doing this, artwork.
When we finish up here, we'll take a picture of it,
Oh,
put it
yeah.
up on our Instagram.
Yep.
So if you're listening to this, you can follow us at Flight and a Pint, and go check that out there.
There you go.
I really do love how a lot of breweries are employing artists
Yeah.
to help create part of what makes this beer great. It's not just the beer and everything else, not just the brewery, but the artwork. Brings everything together as well.
Artists need jobs, man.
100%.
We've seen some really cool stuff from cans to wall art to just posting stuff on Instagram, all kinds of stuff.
It's actually been super critical to a lot of our appeal too. Like that is the thing that grabbed a lot of people up front. The artwork on the cards that you see in front of you with those flight cards, that grabbed people immediately when we're doing flights. As soon as we got into canning, his amazing artwork, put no questions around it. That's what people see up front, and they grab that and they think this is going to be an interesting beer. And it's our work, the hard work after the fact. But a lot of people come back around to it.
So you heard it here. Hiring artists is good for business.
No, well, that's the
Go
real
find
big,
an artist and pay them.
That's right.
Exactly. That's the real big thing is, when you look at a craft beer shelf now, if you go to your local store,
Stuff.
there's a lot, and there's a lot of good stuff out there. And so the biggest challenge is, we just need a person to pick up our beer. So what's the easiest way? Let's just put some killer artwork on there. Even if they don't even know what the hell the beer is, they're just like, God damn, what the hell's that thing? And they pick it up. That's just an extra person picking your beer up, reading it. So it's an extra person
I'm
that can
absolutely
posh-
guilty of that. Where
Yeah.
they say
Yeah.
don't judge a book by its cover, but I mean it's
Yeah.
impossible not to.
Well, not even that. Sometimes these names don't even give any kind of clues as to what style of beer it is. And sometimes the style of beer is hidden. The thing that's going to get me is the name and the artwork. I'm going to pick
Yeah.
that can up and I'm going to see it. What's the ABV? What kind of style is this? This is stuff that I want. So, yeah, it's in your hands now. It's much easier to put it in your cart than put it back on the shelf at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we have when we were open 100% and the cards were just being released constantly. We would have people to come back and just collect them. So
I absolutely would.
yeah, so the artwork.
You're probably not getting these cards back.
Oh, hey, you can have all.
They're meant to be taken. Like that was part of the purpose of that was take that with you. Remember our beer.
Do you know anyone who has a full set yet?
There's probably. I mean,
There are
now
people
that
that
we've
are
had-
close.
Probably number 9. He's probably got them.
number 9. Sean's got it. Nah, it
Sean
was-
only cares about one beer.
That was one of the most common questions we would get in here is, can I take this? Can I take that card?
Yeah.
Sure.
I said, we bought a lot of them. Yeah.
Be like, I don't know, man, but yeah,
Well, we just want that
just-
person to go through their purse later or go through their wallet later and, oh, man.
Or somebody
And
else
then
sees it.
They're reminded of it, you know? So it's just that one extra, like I was talking about, picking the can up later, maybe a day or two later. Now they're reminded of that beer. They're reminded of what they, had here, so it brings them back.
with a handy logo on the back.
Great calling card.
Exactly.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the Brewers battle that I've been seeing on social media?
I can tell you how it started. It was just on a complete whim. The brewer that we hired back in, I guess, June, July, me and him were just designing beers together, just sitting there making beers. And we made 2 very similar style beers. And I said, hey, why don't we brew these and we'll have a battle and maybe that'll drum up a little bit of tap room stuff going on, and people loved it. They were telling me sorry they voted for him, telling him sorry. And I'm like, look, I don't care. Like, it's all good, And then Greg and Joe, our other friend, they've known each other. I mean, how long have you known Joe? For 30 years,
Oh,
probably?
dude, yeah.
And if you ever,
Sophomores in high school,
if you ever
so-
see these two together, they're competitive. They're both in the same field. So IT, they're very, very competitive dudes. So once it got to them, it was ramped up, and Joe made a very traditional, very good though, American style IPA, dank,
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
very, very good. And Greg, which amazed me, he made a mango fruited IPA, which is not a Greg thing to do, but he
100% against my ethos.
yeah. He knocked it out of the freaking park, though. It's a delicious beer and actually won, too. So it's going to be me versus Greg now.
Nice.
In the final. So it's going to be, we're going to probably be, I think what did we
you got
agree
to buy
on?
to the finals?
Yeah.
No, no, the guy Mike and
Okay,
I
all right,
did. No, I don't get any buys. I want to earn it, Now, Mike made a good beer. I do have to admit, I was in charge of his whirlpool in that beer, and I kind of messed it up.
Sabotage.
I kind not no. I don't want to make any.
Oh, we're playing PvP. Okay.
And I admit it. Once the battle was done, I admit it to him. I said, "You know how I did your whirlpool for you?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I kind of didn't look at the heating element, and it was 10 degrees warmer than it should have been, which probably drew out a little bit more bitter than it should have."
Getting it.
Yeah, and that was the one complaint that he was getting a little bit.
Isomerization.
They said, it's kind of pithy, a little bitter. And I was like, I wonder how that happened.
So, what did he do to your beer to sabotage?
He didn't do anything because I brewed it.
chance?
Yeah, he
Nice
didn't have a
guy.
chance. I said, get away from this thing. But no, it was just all in good fun.
course, of course.
It was just so funny to see. Like, I actually had a lot of friends of mine that came in here and voted for Mike, and the way that they got around to telling me that they voted for him, I'm like, I don't just tell me. I don't care. Like, all the beers are being made here.
Right.
It's still an Axe and Arrow beer.
Sure.
So the greatest compliment actually for both of the battles were the amount that we saw. Both of these beers are really good, but I like this one better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was great to say.
for
That's
Sure.
a win.
That was probably the overwhelming. I mean, between both of the battles, that was the overwhelming vote. I like both of these, but I like number 1 better. I
Super
like both of
close, but this is more kind
Yeah.
of
My style.
flavor.
So it's you two in the finals.
them. Yeah. So
That's
we
right.
When's that going down?
soon, probably another
3
month.
weeks.
We agreed to both do because it's a business too. We don't have any fruited IPAs or any milkshake IPAs we've ever made, except for the one that Greg just made. So we both agreed to design and make a new fruited IPA
Yeah.
for the finals.
Limit the style, like
Yeah.
Okay.
tighten up the belt a little bit.
So I'm obviously going to win, but Greg's going to put up a really good fight, and
I was gonna
I
say,
commend him.
you
I
guys
commend
got
him.
microphones and cameras in front of you. If you want to cut a promo,
Big words, buddy.
I'll give you. I'll give you each 30 seconds to smack talk.
You know what gets my blood boiling? I'll do some Macho Man. Dude.
This band can make a fruited IPA. Yeah.
The lactose will rise to the top.
I will trash that.
I watch way too many Macho Man promos, dude. There you go. Now that's the greatest thing about this whole business is we love it. You know, it's fun. Yeah, obviously there's business involved with it, but at the end of the day, it comes back to having a good time, making beers, having the community. It's just fun, really.
It should be fun.
Yeah, and that's what really when we started talking about this, we're like, we can't do it now. We both have jobs, but hopefully end goal is there's a possibility that we could both be doing this and full time, which would be fantastic.
Absolutely. It absolutely should be fun. Don't ever feel like you ever have to excuse yourself for making this a fun thing.
No,
like,
never.
We're making beer.
That was actually
beer's one of the most one of the least serious, most serious things.
that was almost like one of my Greg had one thing. We have to name a beer after my dog. Okay, whatever. And my one thing is, I don't want to be too serious. I don't want to be too corporate, stuffy, all that crap, And no matter, I don't ever think we'll get huge or whatever. But no matter where we go, I always want to have a good time. I always want our employees to have a good time. I always want Greg and I to have a good time. I always want whoever's in here to have a good time. So whatever that entails, we want to make happen.
I was thinking we should have a taste-off battle royale of every beer that was named after an owner's dog.
Oh yeah.
Or cat. We got one cat entry and a lot of dog entries.
Well, Grog's right up at Dr. Brew Little's. Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah,
And then
it's
there's
an
another
easy
one.
thing. It's an easy thing, especially if, and it goes back to that whole thing. It's a homebrew thing, right? Where you start at. So a lot of us came out of the homebrew, and that's where the fun and joy came out of it.
Sure.
The fucking around about it, and that involves the family.
And who's your
dogs
first
and-
biggest fan but your dog?
That's right.
Oh, you should
So-
see Greg's dog. They
I
would
would love to see your dog.
the amount of grain that they would eat.
Oh, I have
Just-
6 of them, by the way.
Yeah, he has a freaking zoo at his house.
Well, he's going to pay the dog tax and send some photos over so we can put them on our Instagram.
There you go.
Yeah, I think more of the fun comes when brewery and the people who work there involve the customers in these things, and what you're doing with the Brewers Battle, what you're doing with the Mug Club, that's going a long way to including them, and that makes it much more fun to come here.
Oh man, thank you.
How does the finals of the Brewers Battle work? What can we look forward to? Where can we send people? What can we do about that? Because I want to be here voting.
Instagram.
Yep.
So at Axe and Arrow Brewing on Instagram, that's the best place.
Watch that. They'll tell you when it's going to get released, and then you got to come in here. You got to try 2 beers.
So really, the
It's a hard twist.
It's like an arm twister, yeah.
yeah. Well, we
Somehow
do
manage.
we do what's called the Battle Beer Flight. It's 2 10-ounce pours for $10. Right? Is it 10? Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever. $10. And so whatever one out of Greg and I's wins, we're going to can. We're going to big batch. We're going to can that.
Nice.
Awesome.
So
to vote wisely.
yeah. So your future is in, or our future is in
Yes.
your hands.
Someone's future.
Our
is in the-
future is
Yeah.
in a couple
Our
hands.
future, your
Our
future.
too, because we're going to buy the beer
Right.
no matter what. But
Yeah.
All right, what do we have for our last beer here in our pint?
up to the pint.
Oh, that would be the Hardwired. That is a hazelnut coffee porter.
Talking my language, man.
And that is that's a solely created recipe of Mike, the
Yeah,
gentleman
our
we've
brewer.
been talking about, who we brought in about 6 months ago. He's done a bang up job, and that is top to bottom his beer.
I just
wow.
I always smell a beer before I taste it, and this is just like I love coffee stouts. I love coffee. Really, like coffee and beer are two of my favorite things in the world, and when they come together, it's so important to me. So you get that iced coffee, not even iced coffee. This tastes like smells like just like espresso.
Well,
Just
it could be
coming right
cold
off it.
brew as well. It doesn't have much of that acid bite, which is really good because you can be very you can be very wrong with coffee. If it's too hot, you got a lot of acid in there.
That's the
you're
other thing.
gonna-
Coffee, beer, and chocolate are all very
Oh,
bitter
yeah.
things that are hard to mix, but they mix so well.
Just like how I take my coffee at Wawa. Just
Yeah.
the right amount of creaminess, the right amount of hazelnut. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we do a lot of secondary fermentation with coffee beans, which is what happened there, and that gives you that. Like you're not pulling out, you're not heat exchanging those oils out. That gives you that bitterness. So it's a much better way that I think personally that
Yeah.
coffee beers work well is with the secondary.
Yeah,
because you're not heating it up. You're letting it draw out naturally the way it wants to. Let it get to a certain concentration in there. Works real well.
and that coffee bitterness is still there. It's not killing you, and it's rolled off without trying to replace it with
Yeah,
sweetness.
it's a slightly earthy coffee. So
Yes.
you get the earthiness out of the coffee bean and then the hazelnut in there.
It's actually a very basic porter, but just with the coffee bean. So there's no lactose in it. There's nothing crazy in there. It's just a very standard traditional porter recipe with, the hazelnut.
Definitely can't see through this one.
No, that one's like
Yeah, it's
It's the
dark.
right color.
It's dark.
No, I've said on the show a lot of times. I love a beer you can't see through.
So, Axe and Arrow, where did the name come from?
well, Greg came up with it, so he can explain.
All right, so thank you. We're Scots. We're all Scottish. That's right. So Fletcher's, that's a pretty obvious one. The Scots obviously had names for trades. So the Fletcher is an arrow maker. The fletching on the arrow. That's where it comes from.
It took a little more work to find out where my name came from.
Yeah. it took until about the Middle Ages
Like
in
the
which
1200s.
Yeah, the jailers and executioners became a thing, and the lockman, the man of the lock, was also the guy that cut your head off.
Yeah.
The man of the axe.
Yeah.
So
And I still remember when he called me up because we were banging around a bunch of different names and
Red Hawk and
nothing
anything in the area.
Yeah, like Red Hawk was the other one that was close because there's a Red Hawk there's a Red Hawk that's on my farm.
Yeah.
The flies are around constantly. And I'm like, it's not really that good. It's not terrible, but not good. And then
Doesn't
he
stand
said,
out.
when he said Axe and Arrow, I was like, all right, like that's it. and it's just one of them good things. Kind of when you're naming a beer, once you hear it, you know it. You're like, all right, we're done. That's it. We're going with it. No more thinking. Just go with it.
Yep. Sorry, I'm still drinking this pint here. This is great.
No,
Fine,
get
that's
at
good,
it.
That's fine. Hey,
Take your time.
Hey.
I might need one too.
I know I'm getting a little low. Oh, yeah, you're low.
Lows it out.
So we found some accolades for you. You got named in
shit,
in
here we
USA
go.
Today top 10.
Yeah, what was it, number 7 in the country?
I didn't see the actual article. I just saw that it was up
7
there.
for top 10 new breweries in 2020.
Yeah. Our
That's awesome.
I got stepped on a little bit, unfortunately. Yeah.
yeah, it came out in the beginning of the year, right before, or the beginning of last year. One of our buddies, Gary Montesaro, he nominated us. There's a few other places around here that also got nominated, and luckily USA Today picked us, and we were put in with a bunch of other really good breweries around the country, and there was a few months voting period, and luckily we have, I believe it was 20 other breweries. We have a lot of fans, a lot of friends. They voted their asses off, so we made it into the top
Good
10.
to have friends.
Yeah, we made it into the top 10, and it was just awesome. It was really, really cool to see.
Any other recognition or accolades that have come through to you since then?
Nothing of note, really, that I can think of.
No medals for beers, but it's actually been slow. I mean, we submitted to GABF, but that's obviously a notoriously difficult field.
Not even that. With COVID, it's going to make a lot of festivals and
Well,
competitions
yeah,
more difficult.
Yeah, places that can hand out
Yeah,
accolades.
I guess we did have second place in
yeah.
competition at Summer Swelter, a local one here in the Pittman area. But
Just
it's
your
festivals have
normal
shut
like
down.
new brewery, top 10 new brewery stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely the USA Today one was.
Just a normal top 10 in the country news stuff. Just
Well, I mean, that was obvious.
Anyone could do
Yeah.
that.
It just means we're coming for
no,
everybody
literally
else.
only 10 people can do that.
Right.
Like, only 10 people.
No,
can
it was it was awesome. It was. I was actually blown away when I saw we were
You
even
should be.
nominated.
That's awesome. You should be
Super
proud.
stoked
You should be
for that.
absolutely proud.
Yeah, we don't really. I mean, even when we were home brewing, we never did contests or anything.
Yeah.
We never joined. I mean, I guess it's. I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but we never joined a club. We just brewed together. Never did contests. We just made beers for our friends,
It's
family.
not being competitive is such a foreign concept to me.
Yeah, we just never and the funny thing is now I'm being invited to judge brewing competitions.
Awesome.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is bizarre because I, even as a home brewer, I never even thought about joining them or putting a beer in. So it's pretty cool though. I mean, it's just getting it talking about before in the community. So we were invited by Tuckahoe to go down to Garden State. So another brewery invited another brewery to go to another brewery to judge homebrewers, and it was awesome. There was homebrew store owners there, other brewery owners there, other podcast people there. Awesome, So just getting into the whole community.
That's where I want to get eventually. I'm home brewing and actually we're moving over to all grain now.
Oh, great!
But
Yeah.
I definitely want to enter the competitions. I just want to. I mean, even if I don't win, just to see how I do up against other people. It doesn't even have to win. Just let me know how I am.
Yeah.
That's what I
Well,
wanna
one of the weird things about competitions compared to like what we're doing here is there's like strict style guidelines for beers or for beer, whatever. And you can make this like crazy adjuncty stout that might sell like wildfire here. You put that in a competition and judges are just going to shit on it. You know?
Yep.
But you can then, on the other hand, make the best, whatever, like a, Munich lager and win a competition, put it here at the brewery.
Don't move.
It might sell decent, but it's not going to go crazy. So it's weird. So for us moving from home brewing to that, there was always like that consideration of business versus the competition style guidelines.
Yeah, I think they have like very strict style. Like you said, style guidelines is exactly what it is. Like, compared to like a dog show, where like you line up 100 golden shepherds, 100 golden retrievers, and they all to you look exactly the same, and they're looking for very specific things of what constitutes a show breed.
Yeah,
golden
I've never heard
retriever
it.
when they're all good boys.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. So at the end, like,
They're all
For me, it would be hard if I was ever asked to judge anything because everyone's going to win. I like beer. It's a good beer. You win. Good. Good
If
job.
you do a
I like judging
homebrew
stuff like that.
If you do a homebrew contest, there's going to be a couple you're like, nope. That's not-
and it's probably
There
mine,
is
but that's
there.
okay.
I have judged a couple of like chili cook-offs.
Ah, there you go.
And not that I'm a huge chili cooking guy. I've made a couple of pots here and there, but nothing special. I was there as the sound engineer for the bands, and as the one of the 3 vendors that was part of the event, they made me one of the judges, and it was a ton of fun.
Oh, it's awesome.
And like there was a couple where like one they gave me the scorecard, and on the scorecard one of the categories was chilliness.
chili.
Oh, is
like
it
how much of a
chili
chili?
enough?
Does it
Oh,
fit your definition of what
chili.
chili is?
It's
Yeah.
kind of not chili. It's more like meat
That's
sauce.
so
And,
it's like a
subjective.
and they
French chili.
refuse to. I'm like, what does this even mean? They're like, whatever you think it
That's
means.
so
I'm like, that's
subjective.
A, that's dumb.
Too
B,
subjective.
like, I just gave everyone a 10 on chilliness because
Yeah.
if it's in a chili competition, it's chili. That's a 10 on a
Sorry,
chili.
this is more like a soup
I kind of
and
like
not a chili.
chilliness. Yeah.
Well,
like if someone accidentally threw in like a quiche, then that's a 0 on the chilliness.
I would probably make that one win though. I'm like, I love a good
you got to
quiche.
stew that. That's more of a beef
Yeah.
stew than a chili.
This one is more like 25 degrees centigrade instead of 35, so we're going
Yeah.
to give this more chilliness.
Right.
Yeah.
One of them was actually a $20 bill, and that won the competition.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
great.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one thing that if you do start a brewery, you got to get some thick skin on you because it's one of the few professions where you're being judged constantly.
Constantly.
Constantly judged, and everyone's a pro, and everyone knows everything about beer. So
You're being judged by not only people who drink your beer, but the people who aren't currently drinking your beer.
Right.
yeah, exactly.
You're going to get it from
Speaking of
everybody.
which, do you have any memorable bad reviews?
On Untapped. Well, we did have a guy that told us he could make a better hazy in his garage and stuff like that. Just
nice
your
work,
basic
yeah.
stuff. I mean, it's just the classic. What everyone says is, I don't like insert certain style.
IPA, yeah.
One, and it's just
Every single place
Yeah.
we've gone, everyone does that.
So sad.
It's so
They,
bad.
they feel like they have to rate everything.
If you're writing reviews on Untappd, if you're listening to the show and you're writing reviews on Untappd, be better.
just don't. If you don't like a beer, just don't rate it.
Yeah.
And
It's not-
here's what
don't drink it.
Yeah. Here's what I do as a brewery owner now is, I just look at overall scores. I don't look at individuals. Like, it's just, everything's going to get blended in the whole wash.
Sure.
Yep.
So it's like the overall scores I do put a little, credence into. But do I put into Bob from Burlington County that thinks it tastes like cat piss? No.
We can forget about those outliers.
Right.
Yeah. And here's the other thing is it's so easy to focus on the negative. For every one bad review that we get hundreds of good reviews.
Yep.
So it's easy. So obviously that bad review is going to be like a thorn. It's going to stick in you. But I always tell everyone, I'm like, I don't even care anymore. I look at the good reviews, and that's it. And really, I just look at the overall reviews.
And you have to weight the good reviews higher than the bads, just because it's much easier to complain about something.
Yes.
In life, it is much easier to bitch about something and throw that out there and put it into the world than it is to actually take effort and say, oh, I like that. I'm going to take a second and rate something nicely. I'm going to put in the effort for that one.
And most like good experiences that you have aren't like earth shattering to your day. Where like you expect things you go out to do to be at least somewhat pleasant.
We're all entitled.
So when things are bad, you go tell everyone. So I was working sales years ago, and our manager would always say, okay, you go into a store, you have a great experience. What do? You go home, you tell someone, you tell one person that you had a great experience at the store today. You go to the store, you have a bad experience. You go tell Facebook, you go tweet about it. Everyone you run into, you're checking out at Wawa. And it'd be, here's my money for my coffee. Oh, by the way, I had a crap experience over at the Best Buy today. It's like that's all you talk about. So yeah, it's way easier to complain than it is to compliment.
Yep.
And that's just, maybe that's an American thing. I don't know, but it's just it's so much easier to tell people when you're not happy than when you're happy. So like you said, you like looking at overall scores. I like seeing things like when a place has a lot of reviews. Like I see the quantity of reviews rather than looking at the number. Because when that many people have an opinion, have taken the time to even form an opinion about it, that to me is something worth looking at.
Yeah.
Well, and diving a little deeper too, if you know a brewery and if you know if they favor a certain style that might not be the popular style. So if you have like a lager house that's, let's say, at 3.75, like it's like a high dive, like a lager, you only have a certain amount of score you're going to get for that. Sure. Like if you see a lager rated at 3.8, you're like, holy shit, like a 3.8, but for a milkshake double dry hopped IPA, that's kind of fucking shit, really.
So it's not 4.9.
Yeah, so you gotta. So
there's
like
a few
once
places that Walters introduced me to that are just all sours, and that's it.
Yeah, and their brewery scores are probably crazy, but if you look so that's the other thing you got to look at if you even care to, is if you're going to rate breweries using Untapped, it's like, all right, let's see what type of beers they brew. Are they one of the all New England sour breweries? Probably going to have a high score, even if they're average. If it's like Bones, Saul over here, which is heavy lager house, makes great lagers, their score, if you might look at that and you say, oh, that score's not that high, if it's like a 3.8 as an overall brewery score, which is decent. But if you say, all right, half of their beers are lager beers, you're like, holy shit, that's probably a really good brewery because they're doing the style that's not really super popular to the craft beer community, but they're doing it well. And it's just, I know the general public probably doesn't delve as deep into it as me, but like when I went up to Connecticut about 3 months ago, I'm looking at all these breweries, and I saw this one called Sky Gazer. So it has like a 4.35 overall score. Literally every beer is a fruited sour. So I was like, all right, like that's still really good, but they're just hitting them softballs out of the park, you know? So it's just one of the, it's very subjective. You have to look at the styles. And at the end of the day, like just enjoy yourself. Like just have, like, who cares? Like
a place like that, like they obviously found something that they A, good at, and B, enjoy making.
Yeah, and then and if you like it, you like it. Like who cares? Like you don't necessarily need to tell the world. And if you don't like it, you know, just like I was talking to Megan from Human Village, and she really likes a lager that we, make here. And, it's got like a 3.55. It's not the best on tap score. And I was talking to her about it, and she goes, like, it's a good lager, but like it's really not the most important thing. You should be enjoying your beer with your friends, having good conversation.
Absolutely.
The beer should be secondary. And I was like, damn, like you're right. Like,
absolutely.
Like the beer should be part of your experience, not all of your experience.
She's got it figured out.
Yep.
Yeah.
But a place like but the one that's making all fruited sour is like, that kind of reminds me of like, was it Bruce Lee? It's like, I'm not afraid of the guy who's practiced 1,000 punches, but the guy who's practiced one punch 1,000 times. That's kind of where like, okay, they found their thing. And then if they're knocking it out of the park 100 times and they can do small variants on the same thing 1,000 times and make them all winners.
Yeah, I'm not
that's
gonna
awesome.
Hate. Yeah. No, I'm not. I wouldn't have any
And if
animosity.
you don't like fruited
towards those guys.
sours, keep driving.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah.
It's like you said before, people aren't just going to one brewery, they're going to stop here and stop here. Maybe they're just stopping there just specifically for that style. They're coming to your place for the other stuff.
Yeah. Go to the Lager House next door because there's probably one next door.
Yeah. No, it's just one of them things where it's like I like everything really, and even the sours I'm starting to get into now. But I just think people.
Oh, they'll
should
get
be-
you.
Yeah. Just look into it a little bit more. Don't necessarily take the scores. Like go and make your own score.
I don't really even follow scores anymore because I don't feel that the scores represent my taste.
Yeah.
And it's important that maybe I don't have to tell everybody my taste, but my taste is important to me. So the score isn't going to matter. If you say this stout has a 1.2 rating, I'm going to go try that stout. Why? Because someone took the time to say something really bad about that stout. Now I got to find out, do I agree with them? Do I not?
Yeah.
So I'm going to try it anyway.
Was it worth taking all that time
Right?
to leave it that bad a review?
I gotta find out.
For the novelty, if nothing else.
Right.
Because even if I agree with that person.
But it's
That's,
definitely something as brewery owners you have to be aware of. You got to understand everything. And Untapped at first, I like just hated it, but now you embrace it, and it's just part of it, and it's definitely something that intrigues people, and it's not necessarily all bad.
Well, we're in an influencer society, so it's
Yeah.
basically like an influencer tool as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean they do a bunch of other great things too. Like you can make your own badge if you want, which could help people come in here just necessary to collect that badge, and there's a few other things too. So
It's not bad.
yeah,
So where can people find more about Axe and Arrow?
On the internets at everything at Axe and Arrow. So axeandarrowbrewing.com, at Axe and Arrow on Instagram, at Axe and Arrow on Facebook.
yeah.
Don't do Twitter.
We don't do
'cause
Twitter like
who
Trump, so.
does?
Twitter has become more and more poisonous, although it just recently got a little bit nicer.
But yeah,
A little less orange, if you will. Nah, just the normal ones: Facebook, Instagram. Definitely Instagram. We post everything on there. We link it to Facebook. Sometimes Instagram doesn't want to put it on Facebook, but we try.
Sure.
So-
So Insta's your big one.
And we do have Greg and our buddy Joe have been working on a new website. Hopefully in the next week or two, our website's going to go live, and you'll be able to find anything on there, where our cans are, events, everything.
Yep.
So once that website's live, that'll probably be the best place to go.
All right. Any parting words? Anything important that we that people
have
need to
missed?
know?
I mean, really, just what I kind of said before. Just go out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, drink.
Don't worry too much about the beer. Have a good time, and
drink beer and enjoy life.
yeah, have a good beer and just have a good time.
Sage advice, man. All right. That's going to wrap it up then, right, Walter?
yeah. Thank
We're
you
all
very
good?
much for taking the
Guys,
time
thank
with
you
us
so
today.
much.
Thank you,
Oh,
gentlemen.
great. It
The
was a
beer
great
was
time.
awesome.
Greatly
I
appreciate it.
love the magic stuff. I love this was great. This was so cool. Thanks so much for taking your time for us.
Man, thank you.
So until next time, I'm Jason Portizo.
I'm Walter Wilson, and this has been Flight in a Pint.
Thank you for listening to Flight in a Pint podcast. This episode was recorded at Axe and Arrow and featured Josh and Greg. Research and curation is done by Walter Wilson. Audio engineering as well as video editing and recording is done by me, Jason Portizo. Lead in and out music is Retro Future by Kevin McLeod. Thanks. Link to the track and licensing info are in the show notes. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and rate us. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Flight the Pint, and consider supporting the show on Patreon to keep us ad-free. All these links can be found at flightinthepintpodcast.com. Flight in the Pint is a JTP audio production. Cheers, salute, prost, slancha, and thank you for listening.
This has been a JTP Audio podcast. Thanks for listening.